Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we will be talking about the possibility of an electoral tie in the 2024 presidential election. I'm not sure how many people even know that this is possible, but it is possible, really, for two candidates to each receive 269 electoral votes. Now, of course, 270 are needed to win the presidency, so what happens in this scenario? Well, this is called a contingent election. It only happened once in American history. I believe it was 1824, when the vote was split between four candidates. So nobody received a majority of votes, which is that 270. But no one in the past in American history, and no candidates have ever tied. Right? Again, 1824. No one reached a majority of electoral votes, but no one has ever tied before. So it is a possibility, especially, now more than ever it's a possibility, right? Because of how divided our electorate is and how, close this election looks like it will be. This is really in the realm of possibility. Now, it really wasn't when Biden was back in the race. A lot of people made videos on this. I don't know, probably because they get views or whatnot. But I didn't, because it really wasn't even a possibility. When you look at the electoral map when Joe Biden was back in the race, two got a 269 to 269 tie when Biden was back in the race. What needed to happen was that he needed to carry Minnesota, New Mexico, Virginia, New Hampshire, these traditionally blue states, which of course was possible. He would also have needed the blue wall, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Sure, but that puts him at 269. And what you notice is that Nebraska's 2nd district is not filled in. That would have to go to Donald Trump. He would have to carry the remaining battleground states, including Nebraska's 2nd district, and that wasn't in the realm of possibility, right? Because that 2nd district, if you have Wisconsin going blue, then you're going to have the 2nd district go blue. But now with Kamala Harris, the race has completely changed because she is a different type of candidate than Joe Biden. As you all see, when we get more into this video, she could, it's not expected, obviously, but what this electoral map outcome is, this is not expected, but it is possible, for her to surprise some people in the Sun Belt, right, in other places, but lose the Rust Belt, not do as well as predicted in the Rust Belt, which could result to an electoral tie. So, with that being said, let's get into this video, how a 269 to 269 tie would be possible on the electoral map. And then right after that, we're going to look at what would happen exactly if that would occur, how the election would be decided. So first of all, I have the safest of safe states filled in right now. These ones we know are not going anywhere. But now let's fill in some of the a little closer states, but we still generally do know how they're going to go. That's like New Mexico, Minnesota, New Hampshire, and Virginia. These are blue states that Kamala Harris appears to be doing completely fine in. And then for Donald Trump, same thing, but it goes for Texas, Florida, and Ohio. So we have these states, and then as I said, I mentioned that 2nd congressional district in the state of Nebraska, and I will just put that in Kamala Harris's column right now. Joe Biden won it by 6.6% in 2020. I believe she expands on that margin, considering it is now a bluer district. So after these safe states, or almost safe states, filled in, you've got only the remaining battleground states left. And again, this is not a prediction. This is just a scenario where we could actually get that 269 electoral tie that we are looking for. So, starting with the basis kind of this, of where this is going to go. Because it matters, right? You're not just going to randomly put, let's say Wisconsin blue, but Michigan red, just to get that 269, because it's not happening, right? Because Wisconsin, by every metric, besides polling actually, but don't trust polling, but by almost every metric, Wisconsin is more Republican than is Michigan, so that just wouldn't make sense. So, especially because they are in the same region. So, to result in a 269 to 269 scenario, there really is only one scenario, there's only one case where that could happen. And that is where Kamala Harris excels in the Sun Belt, does extremely well in the Sun Belt, better than expected, but loses the Rust Belt, and this is honestly in the realm of possibility, because you've got Kamala Harris, who is a historic candidate as the first African American woman ever nominated on a major party ticket. She would be the first woman ever elected president, not to mention first, Asian American or African American woman elected president as well, obviously, since she's the first woman. So, in this more diverse region of the Sun Belt, right, Latinos, major voter bloc in Arizona, Nevada, and North Carolina, surprisingly, there are a lot of Latino voters. And then, of course, African American voters very prominent in Georgia and North Carolina. It is very possible that Kamala Harris, especially among these younger voters, especially, but even minorities as a whole, oftentimes they are underrepresented when it comes to polling. So there is a possibility where Kamala Harris really excels in the Sun Belt, does really, well in the Sun Belt, better than anyone is expecting, but doesn't quite turn out those white voters that polling indicates she will win, but maybe she doesn't in the Rust Belt, and I think that is possible. I mean, she should be concerned about the Rust Belt, I feel. So, again, she would have to do well in the Sun Belt, Kamala Harris, but pretty weak in the Rust Belt for a 269 to 269 tie occur. So what does this 269 to 269 matchup look like? Well, Donald Trump, the Republican, would win Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. You see is at 263. And Kamala Harris would win North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona. Finally, Donald Trump carries the state of Nevada. So this would be the only realistic 269 to 269 election scenario. Again, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania all go to Donald Trump, but Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina do not. Now, again, this is unlikely, obviously, right? We probably won't see Nevada go red while North Carolina goes blue. North Carolina, voted for Trump by 1.3% in 2020. Nevada voted for Biden by 2.4%. But polling, I don't have polling up, unfortunately, but polling on average does not look very friendly towards Kamala Harris. Many polls in Nevada, I mean, it looks slightly worse in North Carolina, but whatever. I don't know what that but was. But right, the margins are still so close where this is absolutely possible. So if Kamala Harris can get these younger minority voters to turn out across North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona, which is underrepresented in polling, and falls flat in Nevada, as well as really underperforms expectations across the Rust Belt, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, then it is an electoral tie of 269 to 269. And you'll notice you really don't get that with any other possible scenario. Again, as I mentioned before, you could give Nevada, Arizona, North Carolina, and Georgia to Trump, and then give Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania to Harris, and give that second district to Trump. But again, that is not likely. You won't see Wisconsin go blue and Nebraska a second district, which voted for Biden by 6.6, go red. It is just not possible, especially since it is now a bluer district after redistricting. And then you'll notice, you really don't have any other possibilities. I mean, I went through many scenarios, and I really didn't find anything. I mean, you've got, if you give Wisconsin and Michigan to Trump, and you give Pennsylvania to Harris, which is unlikely to see Michigan red and Pennsylvania blue, but then Georgia goes to Harris, which is possible, and then Nevada goes blue, you still don't reach it. There are a lot of scenarios, and really, the only possible one is what I showed before, which is red Nevada, blue rest of Sunbelt, red Rust Belt, which is 269 to 269. This is the only possible scenario. So what would happen if this does occur? Well, in the 2022 House elections, of course, Republicans took back control very narrowly. Democrats way outperformed, as you all know. Let's see, seats won after the elections, 222 to 213, and, after resignations, after special elections, after, impeachments, well, George Santos, not plural, it has even narrowed up since then, from 222 to 213 to something else. But interestingly, I didn't even mention this before, interestingly, how this election would be decided, it goes to the House of Representatives if no one reaches 270. And it's not just a normal vote. Instead, each state delegation places forward one vote for president. So, yes, that means that California, with its, 60-something representatives, no, it's got to be less than that, 50-something representatives, in Wyoming, with their one representative, they have the same amount of voting power. And of course, as you can just see based off this map, there are more extremely small red states: Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Montana, Idaho, West Virginia, for example. Then there are really small blue states. Only a couple you see: Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. That's it. So my point is, Republicans are going to do much better in this House vote than, they would compared to the popular vote or even the Electoral College. Throw Alaska and Hawaii into that small blue state mix as well. So I counted, I did some counting, and the Republicans currently have majority in 28 states. So of course, the Republicans, they would put forward Trump. If a state has a majority of Republican representatives, they would put forward Trump. If they have a majority of Democratic representatives, they would put forward Harris as their vote. If it's tied, which it is in Minnesota, and it could potentially be in Montana, actually, I think those are the only two possibilities after 2024. Maybe Michigan, it could as well. If it is a tie and no one budges, which they wouldn't, then they don't place a vote forward. So as you can see, even as I don't know if I said, but 28 states have Republican majorities, so that's already 28 votes. Of course, half is 25, and that's, that's just Republican votes. That's not even counting the tied votes, which, ultimately I'm saying it lowers the vote total for Kamala Harris. So this whole situation would result in a Donald Trump victory almost assuredly. It really would. So Kamala Harris and the Democrats absolutely want to avoid this scenario. Now, also interestingly, the Senate picks the vice president, and they get one vote each. So, it depends on who would win the Senate, but I'm thinking it is 51 for Republicans, 49 for Democrats. So that would mean also J.D. Vance would be elected vice president, if you care about that. So that is the nightmare scenario in the 2024 election, a 269 to 269 electoral tie. If you enjoyed this type of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. It would help out a lot. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers before Election Day. So again, if you could help, that would be great. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all next time.